Greetings everybody, Maximus here. Well, if you're an aviation news junkie, get ready for your fix, because I've got a huge report for you today. So no time for all that YouTube foolishness. Well, you know what? Wait a minute. Well, one piece of foolishness. I want to take a minute to thank everybody who has taken the time to support the channel through the Buy Me a Coffee app. Links are in the description. I want all of you to know that it's always appreciated. And usually, you get a video reply from me. I know that sounds more like a thread, but I appreciate it. Anyway, just sit back and get ready for a full gourmet red meat meal of aviation news to feast on, because that starts right now.
This is Maximus Aviation.
So are you one of those people who don't believe in aliens? Well, you better wake up, because not only are aliens real, allegedly, but apparently they recently returned with NASA's SpaceX crew on their capsule after its 235-day mission in space. Apparently it was hijacked by some kind of alien being. And not only that, it returned to Earth along with the crew, allegedly. Still skeptical? Well, maybe you won't be after our first story, which comes from that great technical site, Ars Technica. And they are reporting that the astronauts who came home from the International Space Station last month experienced some drama on the high frontier, and, quote, some of it accompanied them back to Earth. And not only that, but NASA and the crew have been sworn to secrecy about the subject and will not under any circumstances discuss what happened. In orbit, the astronauts aborted 2 spacewalks, both under unusual circumstances. Later, both were revealed to be due to NASA's 50-year-old defective spacesuits, one of which was a serious water coolant leak. Then, on October 25, after the nearly year-long mission ended, all the astronauts were rushed to the hospital once they got home. And even one stayed overnight to what NASA called an unspecified medical issue. After the overnight stay in the hospital, NASA said the astronaut was released and in good health and returned to their home in Houston to resume normal post-flight activities. However, NASA refuses to identify the astronaut or astronauts or any detail about their condition, or the alien virus or microbes they brought back home with them, allegedly, citing medical privacy concerns. The 3 NASA astronauts on the Dragon spacecraft included Commander Matthew Dominic, pilot Michael Barat, and mission specialist Jeanette Epps. Russian cosmonaut Alexander Gubenkin accompanied the 3 NASA crew members. Russia's space agency confirmed their astronaut was hospitalized after returning to Earth. Dominic, Barat, and Epps answered media questions in a post-flight press conference, but didn't offer more information on the medical issues or say who experienced it. At the press conference, Dr. and astronaut Michael Barat still refused to answer any questions.
To be sure, I did not say I was uncomfortable talking about it. I said we're not going to talk about it. As you may know, I'm a medical doctor. Space medicine is my passion, to be real honest. And how we adapt, how we experience human spaceflight is something that we all take very seriously. In the fullness of time, we will allow this to come out and document it. For now, medical privacy is very important to us. We maintain that always in many things we do. The same with due process. So both of those really negate our ability to talk about it today. So that's really it for today.
This was Barat's 3rd trip to space and the first space flight for Dominic and Epps. So what happened to the astronauts in space? Was it really aliens? Well, of course not. I mean, probably not. It wasn't. Was it? What do you think? Let me know down below. Well, keeping with the space theme, this next story also comes from Ars Technica. Well, it seems that now, along with every other piece of technology China has stolen from America and the West, a decade ago, when China's space officials unveiled the first design of their country's first heavy-lift rocket, it looked like a fairly conventional rocket booster. The rocket was fully expendable with 3 stages and solid rocket motors. However, between then and now, something must have happened. See what I did there? Must have happened? Anyway, now based on information released at a major air show in China, the design has morphed once again. And this time, the design of the Long March 9 rocket looks almost exactly like a clone of SpaceX's Starship rocket. Well, looky there, that looks mighty familiar. But I'm sure that's just a coinkydink, right? However, based on its latest specifications, the new Chinese Long March 9 rocket will have a fully reusable first stage powered by 30 YF-215 engines, which are full-flow stage combustible engines fueled by methane and liquid oxygen, each with a thrust of approximately 200 tons. Coincidentally, SpaceX's Starship's first stage is powered by 33 Raptor engines, also fueled with methane and liquid oxygen, each with a thrust of about 280 tons. China's new stolen design also includes a fully reusable configuration of the rocket with an upper stage that looks eerily similar to Starship's second stage, complete with flaps in similar locations. According to a presentation at the air show, China intends to fly this vehicle for the first time in 2033, nearly a decade from now. And that fits in nicely with our next story, because it also has to do with more Chinese thievery, as in their Airbus Boeing ripoff of their state-owned Comac aircraft. Comac recently announced that Air China will be their first customer for its new Comac C929 widebody aircraft under development that is designed to compete with twin-aisle models from Airbus and Boeing because, of course, that's where they stole their technology from, so it makes perfect sense. This announcement came from Comac's Director of Marketing, Lu Yan, at China's biggest air show. Yan didn't disclose the number of aircraft that Beijing-based Air China would purchase or planned delivery dates. Comac advertises the C929 will have 280 to 400 seats and a range of about 12,000 kilometers or 7,500 miles, which is in the same category as Boeing's 787 Dreamliner. The C929 was renamed in 2023 from the CR929 after Russia left, a Chinese-Russia joint venture dream team developing the aircraft. A report in April from the C929's fuselage manufacturer said it aimed to deliver the first fuselage section by September of 2027. Well, and some welcome good news for Boeing recently after ending the strike, but also officially they began laying off non-essential employees this week. Earlier this month, Boeing reached an out-of-court settlement with the family of a victim of the March 2019 Ethiopian Airlines 737 MAX 8 crash. This last-minute agreement reached just before a federal civil trial was set to begin in Chicago avoids a proceeding that was focused only on determining compensation for the victim's relatives. However, the details of this settlement remain confidential. The MAX crash victim, it was an Indian medical intern at East Tennessee State University, died on a flight from Addis Ababa to Nairobi. So that leaves only one unresolved case from the MAX crashes, which also will most likely be settled by Boeing before its pending April 2025 trial date. Well, how about some supersonic jet news? Boom Supersonic, remember them? According to Space.com, Boom Supersonic's XB-1 aircraft set a new speed record during its latest test flight. The Colorado company is working through a flight test program for the XB-1 supersonic demonstrator aircraft, which completed its most recent test flight on November 5. This was the 7th out of 10 planned subsonic test flights to confirm XB-1's performance and handling qualities before attempting to reach supersonic speeds. During the November 5 test flight, which lasted 55 minutes, XB-1 reached an altitude of 23,015 feet, about 7,015 meters, and a new top speed of 629 miles an hour. This means that the aircraft reached Mach .082, marking a major milestone in its progress towards crossing the threshold of Mach 1 and breaking the sound barrier. Well, turning our attention now to emergency aviation news. Boeing's 737 freighter has been destroyed after it caught fire in flight and was forced to make an emergency landing in Sao Paulo. The cargo jet, operated by Total Linhas Aéreas, was on a cargo flight from Victoria to Sao Paulo when the crew received a cargo fire warning forcing the emergency landing. The aircraft's journey had been uneventful until it was on descent towards Guarulhos Airport when the crew reported a fire in the cargo hold and declared an emergency. The aircraft was directed to runway 28 left for a priority landing. However, about 5 minutes before landing, radio contact was lost with the pilots, although the transponder continued to work normally, which transmitted the aircraft's essential data to the air traffic controllers at the airport. Despite the fire in the hold, the crew managed a safe landing on runway 28L and stopped on the runway where the crew were evacuated safely and were met by safety crews. Well, in keeping with dangers of commercial aviation, this has been a hard month for flight attendants. On 12 November, while taxiing on the runway in Miami, an American Airlines flight attendant was injured, while after pushing back from the gate, the flight to Jamaica slammed on the brakes, throwing the attendant to the floor, and causing the plane to return to the gate and seek medical attention for the injured flight attendant. Also last week, 6 crew members and 5 passengers sustained severe injuries requiring hospitalization. When on a flight from Buenos Aires to Frankfurt, they experienced severe turbulence over the Atlantic. And as if all that wasn't bad enough for a month, a Spirit Airlines flight bound for Haiti was forced to divert to the Dominican Republic after their aircraft was struck by gunfire as it came in for a landing at Port-au-Prince. A flight attendant was grazed by a bullet in that incident, resulting in the FAA issuing a 30-day ban on all U.S. flights to Haiti. And some tragic news from Wichita, Kansas in the U.S. And this is news in the age of social media we hear all too often these days. As travel photographer and skydiver Amanda Gallagher was killed after walking backward into the propeller of a Cessna 182 as she was taking photos of people climbing in and off the plane. But as she moved in front of the wing and stepped backward towards the propeller to photograph the next group of jumpers boarding the plane, that's when authorities say she backed into the propeller. She was transported by EMS where she succumbed to her severe injuries at the hospital. And also as a reminder that working near or around any aircraft can be dangerous. In Helsinki, a Finair worker tragically lost his life at Helsinki Vantaa Airport earlier this month when he was trapped between an A350 and a lavatory service vehicle. According to reports, a towing crew began pushing the Airbus A350 back from the gate, unaware that a lavatory waste truck was still stationed under the aircraft's rear, where the worker was actively servicing the unit. The 61-year-old male was fatally injured in the incident. Police have launched a criminal investigation to review the actions of the towing crew with potential charges for causing the death and endangering safety. And finally, in a bit of lighter, well, not exactly aviation news, more like aviation adjacent. This story by way of the war zone. Since Russia has lost so many tanks in Ukraine, the nation's largest film studio has donated movie prop military equipment to the Russian government to reinforce its armored forces. Or at least give the appearance anyway. In 2023, among the prop vehicles donated to the propaganda war effort, the movie studio handed over 28 T-55 tanks, 8 PT-76 tanks, 6 infantry fighting vehicles, and 8 trucks they had in their military prop department to the Russian armed forces. Mosfilm Director General Karen, whatever that name is, said she told Vladimir Putin during a meeting at the Kremlin she knew they needed them, so she rang up the Russian Defense Ministry and they gladly accepted the generous gift. The tanks and armor were part of a collection of nearly 200 Mosfilm had on hand. Wait a minute, she's a movie general? Well, that sounds about right. Anyway, all the equipment was real but have been in use recently as movie props and in good condition. So why would Russia need so many inert movie props while fighting a hot war? Well, that's because so far Russia has lost at least 3,549 tanks, at least according to the Dutch Oryx open source tracking group. That figure includes 2,484 destroyed, 158 damaged, 374 abandoned, and 533 captured. The total figure is higher, but only because they tabulate which it can visually confirm. However, the studio's donation seems symbolic at best, and it's unclear exactly how Russia will use these tanks. But according to the War Zone, they previously reported that some of the studio's T-54 and 55s began appearing on the battlefield last year. According to the War Zone, the movie studio Mosfilm, which has made more than 2,500 full-length films, has won some prestigious awards over the years, including 3 Oscars. However, its highest praise in Russia may have come recently, when a gleeful Vlad Putin glowed that Mosfilm is our pride. So I guess Russia's big and bad military wasn't so big and bad after all. So how was that for a giant feast of an aviation report? I told you it was big. If you didn't have to unbuckle your belt after that meal, I'd be shocked. And with that, the rest is up to you. So be sure and meet me down in the comments and do all that YouTubey stuff. And remember, leave the rubber on the runway. and your troubles on the ground. And I will see you next time in the air. Yeah, this is Maximus.